Hello, I'm Haley,
I'm Jen.
and this is our February Emmaus checkpoint video. Thank you so much for joining us this month as we talked about expressions of prayer and ways that we might pray. So I just wanted to share a little bit about how sort of this topic of expressions of prayer is going in my life in ways that I was moved by what we learned. I think that being in the season of a first-time mom and having a baby really shifted my prayer life to a lot of, praying on the go, a lot of praying whenever I can. And I've been trying in the last few months to develop a more consistent prayer routine, because as we talked about, you can't pray without ceasing if you don't set aside sort of particular times to devote to prayer. And I think that in those particular times, I was getting a little too chatty, I would sit down and I would be, rattling off my intentions, or I would be like, okay, I'm going to read this gospel and think about what it means. And I really came to see that the piece I was missing was that contemplative prayer piece that we talked about, that just being in the presence of the Lord. And that was probably the type of prayer that I needed more than anything else. It's good to study the scripture, it's good to offer the prayers, but truly what I needed is just to be with the Lord. That was the part that had been the most missing from my life. And so, our first prayer challenge this month was to kind of look at your own prayer routine in life and see what maybe was missing. So I hope that you've been doing similar to me, sort of exploring what am I missing here and what do I need to round out. So I know I'm trying to just sit and be with Jesus. But the other thing that I wanted to mention that we talked briefly about was Mary and how to incorporate Mary into our prayer lives. And this is something that I've struggled with throughout my life. I haven't really known. People would say, I have this relationship with Mary, I have a devotion to Mary. And everyone always assumed I had a great connection to Mary because I lost my mother, but I didn't really know what to do with her. I didn't know how to bring her in. I didn't know how to build a relationship with her. And I've just really found that becoming a mother was the bridge that I needed to jump that hurdle and go to her a lot, mother to mother, to ask for help to be a better mother, to be more patient with my child, to be more patient with my husband, to know, how to act, how to be, So I know that not all of us are moms. Obviously some are men, and we all have to sort of find our own bridge to Mary. But as I've been drawing closer to her, and I've been putting more images of her in my home, and more, I had a statue of her that I've put out in my daughter's room, and it's just been such a great reminder to me that I have this Heavenly Mother and I have this advocate on my side, looking over us, praying with me and praying for me. And so I'd invite you to find whatever it's going to be to help bring Mary into your life, because it's, I truly can't, I feel like it's just an understatement to say what an asset she is to us as Catholics. And with that, I'm going to send it over to Jen.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know, but we don't plan these videos. Like, there's no script that we follow. Both of us just kind of say to each other, okay, do you know what you're going to say? Do you know what you're going to say? Yep, and let's go. So essentially, I'm going off of what Haley just said about this relationship with Mary. So your kiddos took a trip to the church during the last February Emmaus session, and they went around the church and found as many Marian images as they could. And they learned about how Mary is the mother of God, but she's also the mother of us. As Jesus was dying on the cross, he looked to John and said, "John, behold your mother." And then to his mother, Mary, said, "Mother, behold your son." And in that moment, he gave her to all of us. And truly, Haley's spot on. You cannot, you can't even fathom the amount of blessing and grace that comes from having a relationship with Mary. It's truly beautiful. And one way that we can do that, and your kiddos got these at the last Emmaus session, is to pray the rosary. And I know when I first started the practice of the rosary, especially with my family, it's difficult to carve out like that 15 to 20 minutes to sit and pray. And oftentimes my boys are, sort of they're not wandering off, but they're, maybe wandering off mentally. Sometimes I do too, but that's okay. Try and find that time, even if it's once a week, to incorporate a rosary into your prayer life. And you will see blessings, grace start to come from that. And I know that some of us, we might be a little hesitant. Protestants sort of make fun of Catholics that we worship Mary. We don't worship Mary. There's a great quote in your parents' guide, and it's from St. Maximilian Kolbe, and he says, "It is impossible for us to love Mary more than Jesus loved her." So don't ever be too afraid of getting too close to Mary and not paying too much, too little attention to Jesus. Because when you're paying attention to Mary, she's going to bring you to her son. So it's you can't do it. It's impossible. So I also want to bring our attention to this other activity in your kids' activity books that I think would be really great. As Haley mentioned, her becoming a mom she had to switch up her prayer life, and there's this great activity called Choosing to Pray, and it has different areas of the day where it tells you, it prompts you to what you're doing now, and then how you can turn that thing into a prayer. So I urge you to take a look at that. It's on page 118 and 119 of your children's activity books. And there's also a guide to the rosary in your parents' guide and your kids' activity books. And also take advantage of those car conversations. You can hang them on the rearview mirror of your car, and it prompts these conversations. This month is really all around Mary and how we can grow closer to her. Why is she called the handmaid of the Lord? And things of that nature. So I encourage you all to work on these expressions of prayer. Sit with the Lord and sit with his mom. I'll hop it back over, Haley.
Thank you guys for joining us this month. We're looking forward to seeing you again in March, and I hope your prayer journey is going well until then. We'll see you then.